So a long time ago, before my wife and I had children, before we were even married, we took a number of our vacations backpacking, which, as you probably know, means you put your clothes and your food and your sleeping bag and tent on your back and walk off into the wilderness. And when you get to where you want to stop, you make camp, set up a tent, have a meal. We got pretty good at this. We did it a couple times a year. We took ourselves to some really beautiful, isolated places, didn't get sick or hurt, and we eventually got used to the strange noises that the woods would make. We were city folk, and they were all pretty strange to us, but we adapted. So one night, it was a very dark night. When you're in the forest and there's no moon, and you're in a tent, it's pitch black. You can open your eyes, you can close your eyes. The view is exactly the same. And in the middle of the night, we were fast asleep, tired, when suddenly I was just awake. I didn't know why, but I was wide awake, my eyes were open, could see nothing, and something had a really tight grip on my arm. And I was going to investigate this when my wife said, "Did you hear that?" And I didn't hear anything. And I was going to explain it to her, and she just went, "Shh." And we listened, and suddenly I heard boom, a really loud pounding outside our tent. No idea what it was. Scared us both. And every 5 or 6 or 7 seconds, boom, it would repeat. We're lying in the dark, terrified. We have no idea what this is. It sounds in our minds like it's getting closer. We don't know what kind of animal would make this sound. No animal between here and Mesopotamia would create a noise like that. And I was terrified, my wife was terrified, and the problem was we couldn't imagine what was making the sound. It was 6, 7 seconds apart. We thought of it as feet pounding on the ground. Nothing would have the leg span to be 6 or 7 seconds apart. You have to think of something like the Statue of Liberty walking through Manhattan, if you ever saw that movie. But the image that had us scared, even though we didn't know what it was the final scene from, if you've ever seen the very short movie Bambi Meets Godzilla. It ends with a giant foot squashing Bambi. And this is what we're thinking of, lying by ourselves in the pitch darkness, listening to boom. And frantically, I'm trying to figure out what this could be, and I come up with a brilliantly stupid idea. It's a pile driver. If you've ever seen a pile driver on an urban construction site, it pounds girders into the ground by dropping a heavy weight on it. Bam! It cranks it back up. It drops it again. Bam! It has the right timing. It shakes the ground just like this was shaking the ground. This could be it. Now, I know it's insane. We're 15 miles into the wilderness in the Allegheny forest, and it's in the middle of the night. There's no way there's a pile driver around. But on the plus side, a pile driver would not sneak up and squash you. So I like it. And I'm about to explain this to my wife, so maybe she'll let go of my arm. When the noise changes, now it's boom. And no pile driver makes that sound. Especially, it sounded like it was only 10 feet away. And now we're done for. We're hanging on to each other, listening to this boom. And there's nothing we can do. We're just scared to death. And after about a minute, it seemed like an hour, but it was probably only a minute, it stopped. There was no sound. We really wanted to hear the sound receding into the distance, but it just stopped. And the only thing we could think of was the monster curled up next to our tent. and waited for us. We weren't coming out. And we hung on to each other, and we actually just fell asleep. There was nothing left to do. The next morning, we get up, it's daylight, we can hear birds. I think, okay. I tell my wife kind of cutely, let's flip a coin to see who goes outside. She just says, get out. And I go out and there's nothing. There's no sign of anything. No, the trees are there, nothing's been knocked down. But when we go to get our packs, which we cleverly hung from a tree branch, this is what you do when you're backpacking so your food is away from animals. There's a hole this big, about 6 inches deep, right below the packs, that had been created by the front hooves of a very large deer that had repeatedly leapt into the air to try to get the packs and come crashing down over and over again until it was tired and started breathing hard. And then it left. It was gone. And if we had during the night shouted or even turned on our flashlights, it would have run away. But the monsters in your mind are much scarier than anything nature has to offer.